Om Sri Sai Ram. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Om Satyam Brahma Jnanam Brahma Anantam Brahma Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Om Sri Sai Ram. Many a times this thought crosses everyone's mind. What is the purpose of our life? What is the purpose of this creation? काहे को दुनिया बनाई? We all think why God had to make such a world. And what is our purpose in this life, in His creation, or purpose of our life? When we say purpose of our life means indirectly we are seeking answer to the eternal question, what is our role play in this life? There are two aspects. One is the reality of life, another is our role play in that life. We have to know the reality, but we have to play our role. We cannot play the reality. Any performer who comes in front of camera to perform, he or she comes to play their assigned role play. They can't play their reality. Their reality may be, and of course is, always different than their role play. And this is the art of living. Know your reality at the back of your mind, but perform your role assigned to you with the memory of your reality at the back of your mind. While performing the role, even while you are performing, you should know who really I am. Like I mentioned in one of my earlier talks, that one of the most talented actors of Hindi film cinema, Dilip Kumar, Yusuf Khan, when he was interviewed, he said, the secret of my performance, which I give as Devdas or Salim, is that I always keep my own reality at the back of my mind while playing Salim or Devdas. I know I am neither Salim nor Devdas. I am Yusuf Khan, Dilip Kumar. So I play with a sense of detachment to the role. At the same time, I play my role with that freedom from fear, because freedom from attachment is freedom from fear. So I'm becoming creative in my performance. I can play anything because I know I'm not that person which I am playing. So I don't get stress or tensed about performing anything. I know my reality. I'm comfortable with my reality. And I put my best while performing any given role play. The script is not mine, the direction is not mine. Camera, the script, the direction, the storyline, dialogue, entry, exit, costume, even the action and the reaction of my co stars, everything is scripted, decided, and directed by somebody else. I have to keep connected to the mind of the director, to the directions of the director, to the instructions of the director. I have to understand even his body language, what he likes, what he does not like, how he likes, how he will not like. If I know that, I put my best performance. This is all we need to do. But we do the exactly opposite always. That is the DNA of our human mind. It does the opposite of what it actually is meant to do, and when it suffers, then it starts blaming others or even God for the situation, and justifies and defends its own actions, its own reactions in every situation. Human mind knows how to justify even its Himalayan blunders, even its criminal acts. You talk to any terrorist, any Naxalite, or any criminal in the jail, they will convince you that they were right in doing what they did from their point of view. But we take our roles, our role play so seriously. We overestimate our own existence, our own intelligence, our own minds, our own little achievements, little degrees, as I often mention. All little things we overestimate. We just pass out one examination and we will, wow, now I am graduate, now I am postgraduate, now I am a PhD, a doctorate. No, now I got married, I got a son. Swami said even a dog can produce 10 sons at a time. What is the big deal in that? We celebrate even small achievements. We become a street ward corporator and we think that we are too big. Then, if we get elected as an MLA or MP or minister or chief minister or prime minister, everything goes into our head. We become like that village person I mentioned, who is assigned the role play of playing a king because the actual actor had not come on that day, so he was given a chance to play because he was available. And when he sits on the stage as a king with the costumes and the crown of king, and the very people who abuse him in his village, they are playing his ministers and his subjects, and they are appearing in front of him with respectable pranams and everything. So he gets that feel of arrogance, so called confidence. Yes, these people are bowing down to me because of my costume, my dress, my crown. So I am occupying this chair and everybody is coming and saluting me. Why not run away with this decoration? At least show it to my wife. And when he runs away with that thought that he is still the king, and he boards the bus, but when the conductor asks for the ticket, the whole crowd is looking at him, appreciating his personality, his dress, and his crown on his head, and the necklace around him. All ladies and all, everybody is looking at him. So he gets extra confidence. He forgets his real identity and identifies himself with the role play which is temporarily assigned to him. And he behaves with such arrogance. When the ticket conductor asks for the ticket, he said, "Hey, you don't know who am I? I am the king. How dare you ask ticket from the king?" And when the conductor gives him one tight slap and throws him down, then he comes back to his senses. This is what happens to most of us. But then, what is the purpose of life? And what is our role play? How to know? Very simple. Swami has said, Avatar has come down to simplify all these complicated questions. Eko aham bhahusyam. I was one. There was no one to know me, no one to love me. I separated myself from myself to love myself, to know myself. So I created all these mountains rose, the ocean started, the rivers started flowing, the fire started burning, the wind started blowing, the entire creation was there at my service. Then I put my knowledge in the mind of man. That is why our mind will never get peace of mind, Swami says, unless we give our mind what it actually wants to have. That is pure love, pure devotion to God. Swami gave a beautiful example of Madhumakhi, the honeybee, which will pierce through the sandalwood tree. It pierces through the thigh of Karna. But when that bee comes to the flower, the tender petals of flower, it allows itself to be absorbed and merged in that pure nectarine fragrance of the flower and allows itself to even die inside that, merge with that sweetness. Same way, our mind will, you put it anywhere, you become any person. Life is lost in dreaming, being in lost in becoming. Every one of us through the modern education has programmed our minds and made it into competitive mind right in the childhood. When the child is born, first thought what he will become when he grows up. As soon as he starts understanding the first vocabulary, what will you become? Everybody keeps asking him or her. So he is programmed to become. The being is lost in becoming. Then dreams. Entire life is lost in dreaming. Dreams today means desiring. There is no innovation in that. We have some computerized desires fade in our mind by advertisements by our parents, by friends, peer pressure, everything. Want to become engineer or a doctor or a film star or whatever, dancer or a singer. We actually do not know what we want to become. We do not know our role play. The child doesn't know. We feed him with our options. Every parent wants to achieve what they could not achieve in their real life through the life of their children. They want to possess the child. Swami said, when God created bird, he loved it. And he loved it so much that he gave it wings to fly in the sky. But when man loves the bird, he puts it in the cage to possess it, own it. He cuts its wings so that it can never fly in the sky. That is the difference between God's love and human love. humanity has actually forgotten to love. Love is not possessing, love is not dominating over others. Love is giving, 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 and forgiving, forgiving, forgiving. When you do not love a person, how can you give yourself to that person? You cannot say that I love you, come on, what can you do for me? It is ridiculous. You have to say, if at all you really feel love for any person or any entity, I love you. Please tell me what can I do for you? Even the Desh Bhaktas, the lovers of the nation, they will say nation belongs to us. That is Rukmani Bhakti. Krishna belongs to me. Radha Bhakti is I belong to Krishna. Krishna belongs to all. The very thought that nation belongs to me is arrogance, is Rajasic Bhakti, Ravana Bhakti, Rukmani Bhakti. Radha Bhakti is like Shabri Bhakti, like Meera Bhakti. I belong to Krishna. Krishna belongs to all. I belong to the nation. Nation belongs to all. When I say I belong to you, with that humility, that means what can I do for you? Love without sacrifice is useless. As sacrifice without love is meaningless. Love and sacrifice, prema and tyaga, are two sides of the same coin. Where there is true love, there is sense of sacrifice, spontaneous. That is why mother is the greatest embodiment of love on this earth, because she is the greatest personification of sacrifice. We do not know how to love, and if at all we put an effort to love, it is such lukewarm, limited, conditional effort that the very next moment we expect the other persons to improve, to be transformed, to respect us, at least to respect our love, listen to us. This is anything but love. Love has no expectations, therefore, no frustrations. All our life we have trained our minds, our calculating minds, competitive minds, to find fault in others, to be judgmental about others, and then blaming others for everything. Now we have to reverse it, because these traits are exactly opposite to what love actually is. Love means being non judgmental. Love means not finding fault with any person, any situation. Love is not blaming. On the contrary, Swami students, when they came to Dharmashetra Mumbai, I had mentioned in one of the talks, Kamal Sahani. Yeah. This is mentioned in Prema Vahini. Swami's Prema Vahini. If you want to learn to love others, actually nobody can teach anybody to love. But Swami has given us very simple, natural formula for that, because he is the master maker of our mind. He knows the problem. He knows the solution. Swami says, whenever there is any situation, any misunderstanding, any ego or arrogance, blame game going on between two persons or two entities, First thing you should do is look upon the Himalayan, the biggest fault in others, as insignificant. It happens, yeah. He has done it, no problem. Even anybody could do it. Let us not take it so seriously. That should be our attitude. We do the opposite. How could he do like that? Being a Sai devotee, being a Sai student, blah blah, everything. How could he do that? We want to take it so seriously. And second point, Swami says, when any fault, any mistake is committed by you, even the most insignificant mistake, look upon that your own mistake as a Himalayan blunder and try to apologize and correct and repent for that. Again, we do the opposite. If we do some mistake, then we justify it. Oh, this happens. Yeah, I was in hurry. I was not in my mind. It is a human error. Nothing. My intentions were not that. It happened because of this. We justify. We have to do the opposite. Swami says, do simple exercise. And I have done it with my own elder brother, Dr. Prem. Shift the entire blame upon yourself. Your mind will not agree initially because your mind will say, no, you are right. The entire fault is with that person. But you tell your mind, this is a game we are playing between you and me. There is no third person witnessing it. So let us assume, as we assume, let this be X. Let us assume, for sake of playing this game, the entire fault, entire blame is mine. Shift the entire blame upon yourself. Swami says it is nearly impossible if the fault is other person's. Actually, even the fault or blame is upon others, it is impossible to forgive. And without forgiving, the flow of love will not come. It is a block. Blame game is a block in your mind. How can you love a person whom you are blaming and finding fault all the time? So now Swami says, shift the blame upon yourself. And very next moment, forgive yourself. First, shift the blame. Entire blame, not 99%. Don't say, okay, I am also at fault, but he or she also is at fault. No ways. In this game, shift the entire blame upon yourself, 100%. Assume that entire mistake, fault is everything yours. Convince your mind on that. Every night, Swami says, you sit in silent mode, that silence. And remember that person, that situation, and tell that person, I love you. Tell them in your mind. Don't go and shout and hug them. No need. This is a mind game. Because hatred is in mind, ego is in mind, love is in mind. So it is a mind game. No, it is physical, nothing is to be done. Don't share this even with your spouse. Just in your mind. Shift the entire blame. Forgive yourself, because guilty minds cannot be loveful minds. Don't keep the guilt. And it is easiest thing to forgive yourself. The most difficult on this earth is to forgive others, and the easiest thing on this earth is to forgive your own self. So Swami has given this wonderful formula. Shift the blame upon yourself and forgive yourself, though blame game is gone. Nobody is to be blamed. Then start loving that person in your mind. Every day, upper limit, the boy, Swami's student, he gave Swami's voice. Do it for 15 days and see the miracle. Silently, 15 minutes at night. If you have any issues with your spouse, with your relatives, with your friends, with your boss, with your subordinate, with your servant, with the nation, with the leadership, with anybody, even with God, shift the blame, forgive yourself, and start telling that entity, I love you, I love you, I love you. Repeat this 15 minutes. My dear brothers and sisters, I tried this, experimented upon this first on my elder brother. He was my most lovable brother, but some misunderstanding. We both did not know who is to be blamed, and there was no dialogue, no communication between us for a long time. Both living in the same house next door to each other, attending bhajans, doing for seva, but not even telling Sairam to each other for no reason. Something in his mind, something in my mind. He didn't know, I didn't know. So I tried this and tell you the truth. On less than 15th, 13th or 14th day, I was sitting in my office in Sapna Talkies. We had a wheelchair. I was just looking the outside scene from the window. Those days there was no mobile, and our phone 240, I remember the number, had a parallel connection at our home and our theater. So due to some snap in the wiring, our home phone was not working, so he had to come to the office. He did not notice that I was sitting on the chair because it was my back. I was looking outside the window, and he tried to pick up the phone and call somebody, and that phone came engaged. So when I turned, he looked at me and I looked at him. Now he had to wait for the call, and I was there. And my experiment of this love was in progress. It was 13th or 14th day. I didn't know that 2 days he had gone to Puttaparthi. The moment he saw me, I told him, Prem, I heard that you gone to Puttaparthi for. Then he started. I went to Swami called me for interview. This happened, blah, blah, blah. Next 2 hours we were talking with each other as if nothing had ever happened. We ordered everything, snacks and cokes and everything. We enjoyed those moments, 2 hours. And after that, everything became normal because all barriers were broken. This is how divinity works. And this experiment I again did as a Sevadal with that German person who pulled me from my back and I fell down. I wanted to throw him out, but Swami came from the interview room. He looked at me from distance. I understood Swami's body language. I put the entire blame upon myself. I forgave myself, and I loved this person in my mind. And at night when I sat for dinner, this boy, the German boy, came searching for me. And he said, "Sir, I will not take my food. You are Seva. I pushed you without knowing. Please forgive me. I can't take my food." Swami is angry with me. Swami never spoke to him physically. I put the blame upon myself. He was a new devotee. It was my arrogance to imagine that he would listen to my announcement made in English. He was a German person. And he came in the front just as a reaction, mass psychology, because everybody was pushing. But my arrogance, I am a Sevadal in charge. How could anybody push me? But when I listened to Swami's body language, his inner command, the whole situation changed into what I call situation. The love starts flowing. एक दूजे से प्रेम करो, मेरा साईं प्रसन्न होगा. जय साईं राम.